yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Just wanted y'all to sit in that for a moment. We have none other than episode 460 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NCAA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, that is out on assignment. My understanding that he's like somewhere between Brazil and the States or something like that. You know, I couldn't quite get back for the game, but I made sure he had plenty of pictures to see what took place. Made sure that his spot in the suite was really well done. Made sure his wine that he customarily has did not go to waste. So just want to give him a shout out. We have none other than Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to K-Switch for 30 AM studios with the Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, giving him some love and shout outs as we always do. With that being said, Charles, how you doing this morning? Right.
Well, bright and early. It's a great day to be, let's see, a Panther, a Howard Bison, and a Florida A&M relative. It's everybody. It's a great, and probably later on today, good day to be an Eagle as well. So we'll see.
It's always great. It's always a great day to be. Always great day to be, baby.
Hey man, you don't hang 55 up on somebody and don't think it's gonna be a good. Look, I don't want to interlude. I don't want to intrude on my brother Chuck moment, because I know he was, he had built that one. That was perfect. It felt like he practiced that in the mirror this morning when we got on the show. He had that laid out perfect. It's a good day to be this, that, and the other, and all of these other things. I tell you what it is, though. I tell you what it ain't a good day to be. I tell you who it ain't a good day to be right now. I tell you who it most definitely ain't a good day to be today. And it ain't been a good day to be this far for about the last 8-9 weeks. About 1 weekend out of the whole season, it's only been good to be there one time. We at the end of the season. Although we come to the end of the road, and you can't let go. Hey, I tell you who it ain't good to be today. It ain't good to be a Triad Labrador Retriever, a Greensboro Poodle, East Side Pomeranian, or it ain't a good day to be them Greensboro little puppies. It ain't a good day to be them no way. But it's always a good day when you wake up as an Eagle after you put a 40-point spot on Delaware State yesterday. We closed out in OKR yesterday. Chuck, I don't mean no harm. I ain't mean to just jump in on your segment, Chuck. I love you. I love you like cook food, my brother. I just had to get up in there because I saw Doc picking up. He picked up the cigars, man. I felt like he was gonna pick it up for me last, and I had to just like, why you do me like that, dog?
Yeah.
Wow. Boy, wait, what a way to open the show. I would ask Josh Sims Sr. how he's doing, but I think we all know about it.
Blessed to have
that being exactly bright and early, feeling good. Miss Erica Lee, how you doing this morning?
I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I can't even contain it. I don't have a voice. It was awesome yesterday, and to cap it off, to beat the Bears again. They haven't won in green since 2008, so it just made it even sweeter.
They said they were a little upset on their 4th down and 1 call for the first down.
For who? When we went for it on 4th and 1?
Yeah,
the offsides call.
Oh, I mean, that man had been lining up offsides all game. The whole game. Well, they called it one time. Called it one time. So now that missed pass interference, that was definitely a missed call, but they had about 2 missed PIs against them on us that went, missed. So to me, that was even. But that man had been lining up offsides all game long. It was like we were begging the ref, like, come on, don't you see him? So. Yeah.
Well, Doc, I tell you, Jackson State doesn't want to talk about officiating. We'll stop right there. So
Well, shout out again. Shout out to the Eagles. Here's your cigar officially, Josh Sims Sr. Shout out to Erica Lee. Here's your cigar. Shout out to myself, Mike Washington, and those Prairie View Panthers. They got it on the West, setting up a rematch with the family Rattlers. And shout out to Charles as he announces the game play by play. He gets a little bit of the cigar as well. He was putting in work. Now, he was doing it over there at the volleyball thing because that's the only way he's going to get a cigar today. Texas Southern. Woo, that was ugly.
That was ugly.
Made sure final out there. Thinking I don't get a cigar for that and that factor. And then obviously Jackson State against their rival, as he alluded to. Some people are concerned maybe about how that was officiated, but as it goes in the books, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
So it's tough. Man, yeah, when you were talking about the Aggies, they had 10 losses on the season, 28-14. So I thought that was why you were deciding to kind of pick on them and let them know that the world was not all right. I was like, wow. Hampton got 51 dropped on them as they were trying to get close out the season. Eloy defeats them 51-14, so that was ugly. We'll talk a little bit more about Tennessee State. A little disappointing in terms of how they crashed and burned at the end of the season after everything was going on. They lost at home in their last matchup to Tennessee Tech. So that got pretty ugly in itself in terms of that matchup as they close the season with 3 straight losses. And so we'll get into that a little more as well in terms of the final score of that game. But let's get in here before we get in there and talking, and everybody's feeling good this morning in terms of those that are joining us. Let's get into the mid-major games of the week, top 7. As you know, it's playoff times. We do have the now Beach Bowl that will be coming up with that allow 2 additional mid-major programs at the Division II level continue their season. So we'll go through this pretty quick. Not a lot of action here. Number 7, Tuskegee Golden Tigers, their season is rapidly coming to a completion. They do have the Turkey Day Classic this Thursday against Alabama State. They are currently 7-3, 6-2. So they were essentially open this weekend. At number 6, the Miles Golden Bears season is complete, 7-3, 6-2. At number 5, Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls. They were open this weekend as they start their preparation at some point to play in the Beach Bowl, as that should be a fun one to check out in terms of what that looks like. At number 4, the Virginia State Trojans finished the season at 8-2 and 6-2. Their season complete. Johnson C. Bulls, for those that forgot, they are sitting at 7-3, 6-2. Make sure I get that out of there. And number 3, The Fayetteville State Broncos season is complete. Had an outside chance of getting the playoffs, could not get that bid, so they finished at 8-3, 8-0 in the conference race. But remember, they lost the CIAA championship to Virginia Union that sits at number 2. Virginia Union did get in the playoffs. They had a tough loss yesterday to Kutztown Golden Bears in the first round, 38-14. So they fall after having a great season. Got to 10 victories. They fall to 10-2, 7-1 overall. And the Benedict Tigers continue to play as they had a first round bye. Setting up their matchup will be Lenore Ryan. They sit at 11-0, 8-0 after Lenore Ryan won their first round game. So we'll see what that looks like next Saturday. We'll talk a little bit more of that maybe near the end of the show, giving you some updates of what that looks like. As we get into it, let me give you the major division football poll ranks. We had a little bit of update for some, talking about what that looks like. Let me give you the official top 7 rankings. Be interesting to see how things change because we had 2 teams in the top 7 that took L's this past weekend. The rest of them won, including number 7. The Prairie View A&M Panthers defeated the number 3 Alabama State Hornets 21-14. Prairie View improved to 6-5. More importantly, 6-2, which the win they tied with Alcorn State. The Braves, but because of the head-to-head matchup, when they won on a 50-yard last-second field goal, they clinched the division title, and they will be heading to Tallahassee to play for a SWAC championship to see if they can get the other half of the bid to head to Atlanta.
Hey Doc, is that twice in 3 years or twice in 4 years Prairie View's in the SWAC championship?
Twice in 3 years.
Twice in 3 years.
And missed out last year with the loss of their own accord to Mississippi Valley. So they were right there 3 years in a row letting folks know the talent that's at Prairie View. Many of y'all talked about it. I'm not sure some really recognize how much talent it is. And not to say that they couldn't have lost that game, but I was intrigued about the number of folks that didn't seem to give them a true chance at home to beat Alabama State. But they did it. It was on them. They got it done. They actually led 21-0 before credit to the Hornets to push back and made it a little closer than some people probably thought in terms of pushing 21-14. But Panthers had pretty much control of that game. Brings us to number 6. The Howard Bison defeated the Morgan State Bears 14-7. They are heading to the Celebration Bowl. They finished the season 6-5, 4-1 in terms of that matchup. So they punched their tickets, as you see Erica is continuing to celebrate. At number 5, the Alcorn State Braves defeated number 4 Jackson State Tigers 28-24. Really good matchup. They jumped out on the Tigers 14-0. And then Jackson State came back and tied it at 14 and essentially went back and forth with the Braves scoring the last touchdown to take a 28-21 lead. Jackson State was able to get in the scoring position. They were forced to take a field goal, 28-24, and that was the final score in that matchup. So Alcorn, the Braves, improved to 7-4, 6-2, and told you what that meant for the scenario in the Western Division. And number 4, Jackson State Tigers lost to number 5 Alcorn State Braves, 28-24. So they fall to 7-4 and 5-3. And any hopes that an outside bid of the playoffs are probably gone for sure now. But a classic matchup between two vintage programs. At number 3, Alabama State Hornets lost to number 7 Prairie View Panthers, as I said, 21-14. They fall to 6-4, 5-3. But remember, they still have another game, a short week, as they face Tuskegee, the mid-major division, on Thanksgiving this Thursday. It'll be fascinating to keep an eye on them. At number 2, North Carolina Central Eagles defeated the Delaware State Hornets, as Joshua talked about, really put it on them 55-14. If there were any questions in terms of playoff pitches, I think that is squarely gone as they got that done. We'll be awaiting to see what that means. Will they bid and get a chance to host the game? But we certainly will keep up with them as their season is not complete. 9-2, 4-1. They finished the race, creating a tie with Howard. But Howard beat them last weekend, so that's where you get the clinching bid. And this year, there's no co-champions. So fascinating to see how they talk about it. I have my personal thing. I know Joshua and Erica like the idea. I personally don't like it. I think you should do what everybody else does. But the Florida A&M Rattlers defeat the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats 24-7. They improved to 10-1, 8-0 to all 12 first-place votes. Solid matchup. Just methodically really took apart Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. And you talking about, that's like, how you slice and cut somebody up. Slow bleed. They just let it melt away as they took apart the Wildcats masterfully in that matchup. As I said, the Tennessee State loss was tough as they close out the season. They lose to Tennessee Tech 35-0. Just to give you an update as they're outside the top 25. You're talking about really closing out on a season difficult. We'll see what that looks like as they continue moving. With that, let's take our first break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll let these individuals talk about some of these matchups as we go on. Should be some excitement to talk about that. We have folks fighting for championships the next couple of weeks, so it's a good one. Some of them are crowned. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. We shall see. Dr. Mills, inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back after this break.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
You see, hadn't compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington as he's out flying around Brazil and just traveling the world and having fun. He's out on assignment, but we have Charles Bishop, Joshua Sims Sr., BJ Jones, and Erica Lee of X's and O's. As we had them debut on our show last week as they putting it together to give us some insights. With that being said, we're going to jump right into it with the HBCU CIAA mid-major game of the week. It happened to be a playoff game, Kutztown, Pennsylvania, and Andre Reed Stadium. Yeah, that name is familiar for a lot of folks who follow Buffalo Bills. That is that Andre Reed. NCAA Division II playoffs, first round in that matchup. The number 2 HBCU program of the mid-major level, Virginia Union Panthers, fall to 10-2 and 7-1 as they lost to the PSAC Kutztown Bears 10-2, 7-0, 38-14. Joshua, what were your thoughts in terms of that game?
Yeah, man, it was a rough one, man. well, before I even get into kind of the breakdown, salute to Virginia Union, man, on a heck of a season, man. That run they went on after that Fayetteville State loss earlier in the season was incredible. Jada Byers coming back was incredible for them. Going on up to Salem, Virginia, and winning the CIAA championship was a big time thing. But with Kutztown, man, it was rough from the beginning. All right, it was rough from the beginning. They jumped out early, scored first, and then just continued to keep scoring. I mean, I think at the end of the first quarter, it was 21-0 at the end of the first. It was rough, man. Jada Byers didn't really get going until really the second half. But by that time, man, it was like 35-14 by the time we finally got Jada Byers into the box. I was interested at one point, though. We talked about this a couple weeks ago here on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab about the evolution of the Virginia Union passing game and them being able to create somewhat of a balance now. When we talked about this when they played against Virginia State, we talked about it the week prior to that, about how they were starting to be a little bit more balanced and was passing the ball a little bit while complementing the run that they already had with Jada Byers. Just didn't see them get that going yesterday, man. I watched the game and they couldn't get ahead of the chains. It seemed like they just couldn't get going the way that we were used to seeing them going the weeks prior. And unfortunately, you saw some inconsistency at the quarterback position yesterday from them that kind of caused them to be a little bit stagnant. And Kutztown just didn't stop. They just didn't slow down. They didn't stop. Kudos to that defense they had yesterday, man. Kutztown defense was honestly, surprisingly, very, very. They played kind of lights out yesterday, at least for 3 quarters. So, man, it's my tip my hat to Virginia Union, man, for at least fighting as the game went along, man. Second half of the game, they tried to fight to kind of get back into the game, but just a rough situation, man. They could not get going on the offensive side of the ball yesterday, and I was very surprised that they couldn't get going.
Quick question, Josh. I wanted to ask this quick question, especially when teams are loading the box for Jada Byers. How difficult is it to sort of, I guess, on the fly develop that passing game, especially when you're going to get some one-on-one opportunities on the outside?
Yeah, man. Being one-dimensional is almost like is really your kryptonite as offensive coordinator, as offensive play caller. That's your kryptonite. You generally go into a game with an expectation on a coach's play call sheet. I'm gonna pull one of my old play call sheets from a few years ago on the show at one point, but generally in your play call sheet, you have it broken up where you know what you have your scripted plays, your first 20 plays that you expect that you're going to run, your first couple series. After you go through your scripted plays, you got your situational that sit inside of the middle of your play call sheet. Then you got your racehorse, like trying to go up tempo, last 2 minute situation. All of those generally you have you can have anywhere from a 55-45 to a 60-40 split pass run. When you're pushed to one-dimensional, that whole play call sheet is going out the window. You can't even rely on it anymore. First down, when you go first down and you got a 3-yard tackle for loss on first down when you're running the ball, even with a Jada Byers. Then you come back second down, you kind of in a situation where you like, dang, I don't really want to go middle of the field kind of pass right now. I can't run anything that will be short and immediate because we might drop the ball or not get a gain in the first place. And now you're in third down where you got to go screen. Generally, screen on third down is not really on your script. I never put screens in my first 20 plays. Like, you know what I'm saying? But now I got to go middle screen. I got to go left, right screen. I got to go delay or something like that. And it's 3rd and 13, 30. It just completely castrates your play calling sheet. And for me, I did not like being in those situations, but you got to adjust. So on the back side of my play call sheet was what I call the adjustment side, right? Situational analysis, things ain't going right. And literally at the top of the page, I used to write, things just ain't going right. And so I had 10 plays in 3 different slots that just was like, it ain't going right. We in 3rd and long. We in 2nd and long. We in, first, we had a penalty on first down for false start or delay a game. Like, what do I call in those situations? But you generally don't want to have to turn on that backside of that play call sheet and make call plays from that side. So just a little bit into my offensive mind. But, I mean, that was a heck of a question, Chuck. You generally don't want to be in that situation. And Virginia Union was in that situation early and often yesterday against Kutztown. And you could tell that coach had to go into his bag in a couple plays in that second half for sure.
PJ Jones, I wanted to ask you from a defense perspective, what is your thoughts in terms of how you move in that same situation from a defensive perspective?
From a defensive perspective, it's a snowball going down the hill, to be honest with you. You kind of know when that offensive coordinator is frustrated. And my number one MO is we stop the run. Because usually the run, everything branches off of that. It's like a tree. That's the base. But once I stop the run, there's no branching off of that. And I kind of know when that offensive coordinator is frustrated. When I look over on the other sideline, I see this. At that point, I'm automatically knowing to myself, hey, this is going to be an opportunity. We're going to show some man and go zone, and now we're going to zone blitz. Because now he sees that they're going man to man, they locked up. I'm going to go this, and I know that there's another side of that play sheet. Yeah, we're going to show man, and now we're going to zone blitz. We're going to frustrate you a little bit more. Man, like I said, it's a snowball going down the hill. I will say this. Watching that ball game yesterday, there's a place that produces a lot of great football players that Kutztown was able to get into, and that place is called Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
The two defensive tackles that they had in that ball game, both from Aliquippa. Look up Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. They produce a lot of good football players, hard-nosed, tough. It's a steel town, and those guys right there in the middle made it hectic for Virginia Union early and often yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Check out that analysis. The only place you can get that right here is inside the HBCU Sports Lab, particularly with the X's and O's crew, with Erica leading the way. She's usually the one asking those questions, breaking it down. I stole a little bit of thunder, but we're going to bring her back into this. But before we do that, let's get ahead of it a little bit. Benedict will face Lenore Ryans now after they were by Lenore Ryans. The Bears defeated Shepherd Rams. That was a sack versus PSAC matchup, and they dominated. Man, you're talking about a team that's going to feel good coming up playing the Benedict. They won that game 6-3-17. Gentlemen, any thoughts in terms of that, Josh Sims or Charles?
Yeah, I'll start from an offensive standpoint with this game yesterday. 63-17 is no way, shape, or form. Honestly, and this is gonna sound crazy, I'm gonna be honest, that's not even indicative of what they really could have scored yesterday. I mean, Lenore Ryan was clicking. And if I can send Chennisberry and that coaching staff down at Benedict any notes, I'm wide open to jumping on a phone call and telling them what I saw on the film. You know, I do that free of charge. I don't have no problem with that. I'm going to tell you right now, offensively, for them, it starts in the trenches. That offensive line is a big and all athletic offensive line, man. I saw them push Shepherd, and I watched the whole first half of that game because after halftime, it really was over anyway. But I watched the first half of that game yesterday, and I saw consistently play after play after play. Dog, they was pushing that Shepherd defensive line back with ease, dog. Pulling guards coming. I saw Buck Sweep they ran yesterday. I saw Power ran yesterday. Inside Power, yes. I'm like, dog, they running all inside the B gaps, the A gaps. And then when they feel like you trying to sell out on trying to stop the run.
Yeah.
Bombs over Baghdad. Woo. Benedict has the defense, though. Listen, all jokes aside, and I don't make this up. I'm not making this up. Benedict got the defense that can stop this, though. Them linebackers, that front seven they got down at Benedict, down in Columbia, South Carolina. Man, I promise you, I know without a shadow of a doubt that they planning on pinning their ears back and letting them dogs loose because they literally have the ability to dominate that offensive front. But I was impressed. I promise you, I was impressed my first time watching Lenore Ryan this year. I was impressed, man. To see offensive line that big, that athletic, moving around, pushing that defensive line back like that, given Shepherd is an undersized defensive line. They don't have a lot of depth. They did not have a lot of depth. So I do want to provide some context there. That Shepherd their defensive line was not that good. I mean, but given you killing that with a hat and killing that with a sledgehammer, killing that with an axe. So I saw that.
Is there a comparable, mean, aggressive, nasty offensive line in the SIAC? Miles?
Yeah, Miles. Miles would be a comparable offensive line. Nasty, mean, big, can get around. The only thing about Miles that may be a little bit different than what I saw from Lenore Ryan is they'll put an H back in a spot to provide some support to the offensive line. They'll put a tight end in a spot. I didn't see that a lot from Miles this year. Doesn't mean that they didn't do it. I just didn't see it a lot from Miles this year. But then again, I didn't see tight end H-back a whole lot being utilized across HBCU football in general. I mean, there's some programs that do it and they do it well, but just not a whole lot. I mean, Jackson State has clearly shown that they like to use tight ends. Southern has shown that they like to use H-backs. You know what I mean? Morgan State has shown that they like to use H-backs. Like, you just don't see it a lot across HBCU football. But I did see in particular for this Lenore Ryan team, they'll put a tight end in. They'll go 11 personnel. They'll go 12 personnel. They'll go 21 personnel. I mean, it's, honestly, I saw that a lot from them yesterday. I won't be surprised if they don't try that with Benedict, though, because they got some athletic guys in that front seven that really could cause for some matchup problems for Lenore Ryan. And sometimes, offense coordinators, we get to calling plays with our ego. And Benedict is not the team for you to be trying to call plays with your ego. So I don't know if they're going to try some of the stuff I saw them try yesterday against Shepherd, but I was impressed by that offensive line. I will say that.
Charles, let's get into it as we float over here to a major division game, classic game of the week, which was Orlando, Florida, Camping World Stadium, Florida Classic. The number 7 ranked FCS program, Florida A&M Rattlers, ranked number 1 in HBCU rankings, 10-1, 8-0, defeat the number 15th, as I have them in the strength, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. So the Wildcats dropped to 3-8, 2-6, 24-7. Charles, what were your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Workmanlike performance from Florida A&M, and I guess I was messing with AD in regards to, what is it that you saw that kept you scared with regards to Bethune-Cookman? But I think that was the thing that just caught me. Classic game, obviously a rivalry game, but 24-7, Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. If you go to the, unfortunately, there were some sites out there that had to score backwards, so it had some people confused in that game. But like I said, workmanlike performance. Jeremy Musa, 14-21, 150 yards on the ground is where they kind of got things done a little bit more, 175 yards on the ground. And that was one of the things that I've said with regards to Florida A&M that's made them more dominant. It seems as though their running game picked up in the second half of the season, carried it over into this Florida Classic. No great mystery with regards to this game. Everybody had Florida A&M picked that they are definitely looking apart going into the SWAC championship game.
Good stuff. I was in the suite watching that game, Prairie View game. Also had the Jackson State game out. Shout out to my neighbor, Dr. Dennis, my neighbor there, as I put the flag out in the front yard, shot a picture of it, cigars and all that kind of stuff. Eric, I sent in pictures and I haven't had any response. Yesterday, I was calmly packing my truck, getting my son ready so we could take our voyage down to Prairie View. And he's out there coming all across the street saying, man, I'm a big Hornets fan today. You gonna take? I got you understand. No, I heard nothing. A silence. So he said, you're going to be watching the show and ready. I just want to shout out my neighbor. It's raining out there, so he can't even get out in the front yard and do what he needs to get his calm his nerves and manicure. But yeah, that 50-yard field goal, back in September has gone a long way. Now that it's in November, thankfully. With that being said, let's get into this next matchup. I'll ask BJ Jones to give us a little insight on this. This has to be crushing to the Tennessee State fans, the faithful, and the players in a lot of ways. Obviously, they had no chance of fighting for the playoffs or finishing with the championship in the OVC after the last 2 losses, but they were still having a really solid season. They had got up to 6 wins. This was a chance to close out on a strong note. And not just you lose a game, those things happen. Sometimes the team just gets you or they're better than you. But the number 8 Tennessee State Tigers, they fall to 6-5, 2-4 in the Big South OVC partnership to Tennessee Tech, the Golden Eagles, who improved to 4-7 and just 2-4 themselves. But check out the score, BJ, as 35-0. Shutout couldn't get him going, and they put up a lot of points. Just as you shake your head, what were your concerns or thoughts on this game?
It felt like watching that ball game that Tennessee State gave up yesterday. You can see when players quit, and Tennessee Tech is not as good as what they showed yesterday. There was some giving up, and I was afraid that may happen to Tennessee State. We've seen these things, Doc, in the past with Tennessee State. Remember 2016 when they almost beat Vanderbilt and they were rolling high and they were ranked top 20 in FCS, and then they don't win a game after that. Right. We saw that up under their last coach, Coach Reed, where they will have an outstanding September and particularly October, but we get into November, they falter. And unfortunately, we saw it again. And the thing about with Tennessee State, yesterday, nothing went right yesterday. Couldn't run the football, couldn't throw the football, couldn't tackle, couldn't stop the pass. It was a perfect disaster. And the young man that I coached back in the day, Justin Pegues, a running back at Tennessee Tech, had a day. He had a day against Tennessee State, and Eddie George summed it up perfectly. He said, I don't even recognize the squad that we put on the field yesterday. And I'm going to be honest with you, Doc. I watched Tennessee State a couple of times. Yesterday. It's just like they just quit. Like they were mentally just checked out.
I wonder how that happens and how you deal with that from a coaching perspective. It certainly has to be frustrating and hard to do that as you work through it. Go ahead, Josh. You want to comment and maybe how that happened?
Just highlight this thing. Tennessee Tech goes 2-0 versus HBCUs this year.
Yep.
In a combined record. And a combined record of 63-7. Yeah.
Score. Combined score.
The combined score of 63-7. My apologies.
Yeah, I was trying to stay away from that. I saw that and was like, yeah, that wasn't nice. It wasn't nice. Well, we're going to take our last break in this segment. We'll come back on the other side. We're going to talk a little bit about Morgan State and Howard. We're going to get into that Alabama State Prairie View matchup, Alcorn Jackson State. And for the Prairie View fans out there, I need to do a special shout out to Gabe Lewis, his son, and his colleagues. We got to feed a couple of them this past weekend as they came over to the tailgate celebrating and ready with their opportunity in 2 weeks. But, yeah, that offensive line got it done. They were getting a push, which I don't think many people thought they would be able to do it as effective as they did against Alabama State, particularly where they ran the ball tremendously, pretty effectively throughout their game. They got a couple of breaks early in terms of a turnover to set them up. But outside of that, they held their own. So shout out to the offensive linemen from Prairie View A&M, including Gabe Lewis, his son, in terms of what they get done, and those seniors as they finish out their regular season the right way, if you would, in terms of having a victory. Stick with us. We'll be right back as we get into it. We'll get into North Carolina Central Eagles against Delaware State in this last segment. So we'll tell you what to be. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this break. We got some dialogue coming up with the champions.
Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Dr. Bill, inside the HBCU Sports Lab, yeah, those breaks, man. I tell you, they get into it. And sometimes you just can't hold it coming back into it. But that just gives you some insight of what we did. As we promised, we told you we're going to get into some MEAC swag talk. We have bonus action for you here. We're going to start with the MEAC Major Division Game of the Week, which featured Howard as they were at home hosting Morgan State, Washington, D.C. Green Stadium. It was a classic matchup in terms of score. Obviously, Howard jumped out 14-0. You got a score by Morgan State Bears in terms of them making it real interesting. Crucial 4th and 1 play call. Howard gets it done. And next thing they know, time runs out, and they are raising the MEAC Championship trophy and the official ticket by John Grant in terms of the Celebration Bowl as they clinch it. That's the number 6 Bison that improved to 6-5, 4-1. Wonderful season. They placed Morgan State Bears, who fall to 4-6, 3-2, 14-7. As I said, in terms of my index, Morgan State was ranked 12th in terms of the strength of my major division poll rankings. With that being said, the index there, Erica, what were your thoughts on this matchup? How were you able to watch this game throughout and analyze it as well?
I mean, a lot of the third quarter, I'm not going to lie, I had my head in my knees. Like, I couldn't look. I was so nervous. You couldn't tell me that time of possession, we had it for 40 minutes of that game. I mean, you couldn't have told me that the offense had the ball for 40 minutes because the way Morgan's defense was playing, I mean, there were several plays where we hit our wide outs and our tight ends, and any other defense we would have played against, we would have busted that open for a touchdown. And Oregon State's defense was able to grab onto anything and tackle them. And I mean, it was really lights out. I did like that our running backs, I mean, this is the toughest defense I think we faced all season. And that's, saying a lot. I mean, because the way Harvard played a couple games ago, but to see our running backs get just the small chunks of yardage just to keep us in those third and short situations. We did not have a lot of third and long situations. So the goal was to just continue to get positive yardage, 2, 3, 4, 5 yard chunks at a time. And that kept the pressure off of Q Will, not having to force too much. We didn't have 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 15s a lot. So you didn't have to do too much to get first downs. And we look at the first down comparisons. We had 25 first downs to Morgan State's 9. And so we really were working in positive yardage for most of the game, but it just felt like it wasn't for sure until the clock struck 0. Like once we went for 4th and 1, in my opinion, in the crowd's opinion, we probably should have taken the points and scored that field goal, and we turned it down on downs in the red zone. And Morgan State marched 87 yards down the field to bring it to 14-7. We were nervous because that's, well, one, that was the most offensive production I think they had all game. But 2, like that momentum had started to swing a little bit, and we just wanted to see if Howard could stand up. And Howard came back in that next possession. I think Casey Hawthorne or Jarrett Hunter, one of the two, ran for a big time yardage on first down. And so then I was like, okay, maybe we're steady. And once we couldn't get any more points, I think in the fourth quarter, at a certain point, I said, well, if nobody scores anything else, we'll win. And that's exactly what happened.
This is true. I like that. Credit to your defense as well. They held Morgan State. I know we have questions in terms of what they're doing offensively, but the fact that could not really get going. They were just 1-11 on third downs. As you talked about the efficiency for Howard, they were 5-15, but a lot of that was they were getting first downs when you talk about the 25. So they didn't even have that many third down opportunities to have. And on fourth downs, they were 1 and 2. One of them was crucial. that you could tell the momentum that you talked about. I really appreciate that. And the second one they are able to get. So 1 and 2, big matchup. They got it done. Credit to the Bison. With that being said,
I'm sorry, David. I think there's been a lot of critique about our defense. We've had some games where we've been slicing dice. South Carolina State, to be specific. But I say all this.
I don't want to bring it up, but the Hampton game was not.
Well, that raises my blood pressure still. But to see them stand up like they did and to raise up to the challenge, we knew that Morgan State's defense was going to be the best one we saw. And they decided they weren't going to go out without, putting some respect on their name too. And it was really nice to see. I mean, that was, even though Morgan only had the ball for 20 minutes, I just felt like our defense was always on the field and they were just working and working and working. And they were able to stand up and keep the offense in it. Honestly. And we're not used to our offense not having it that much production. Howard has a high scoring offense. And so to see us only get 14 points in this game that's probably I think the lowest scoring game we've had. I think that was maybe hard.
Outside of Harvard.
Yeah.
What led to the turnaround, especially with regards to the defense, sir?
Oh, they had a come to Jesus moment after the South Carolina State game. I think they went in that locker room and said, "What do y'all want this to be? Are we folding here, or are we going to keep forging ahead?" I think when it was only a 3-point loss. And honestly, because we're such a second half team, I didn't think at that South Carolina State when we got the ball back in the fourth quarter, I didn't think we were going to lose, because in those scenarios, we really hadn't been. And so they went to the locker room, and I think they had a real come to Jesus, and they all looked at each other and held each other accountable. And then they strung off the next 2 wins, and here we are.
Yeah. And they actually, pushed back and made a comeback. It just wasn't enough in that matchup with getting behind so early. Let's flip it. Let's go to the SWAC for the SWAC game of the week. We're going to go to BJ Jones and talk about Prairie View, Texas, the Panther Stadium. Alabama takes the long trip. They fly over to get into Houston and drive over to Prairie View. That's the number 7th ranked Prairie View A&M Panthers that improved to 6-5, 6-2, and defeat the number 3 Alabama State Hornets 6-4, 5-3, 21-14. As I said, Prairie View jumped out 21-0, really stifling Alabama State offensively and doing enough to put off the games. Before you get into it, BJ, I was really excited about the coaches that they didn't seem to try to do too much. They took what was there. They decided to use the run game and wear down to some degree the Alabama State defense of being on the field so long. And it seemed to work. They were effective about that offensive line, pick up some yards and get it done. But I want to see your side of it and your thoughts in terms of breaking that game down.
Man, if I told you that Alabama State would outgame Prairie View, most people would be like, "Oh, wow, that means Alabama State won that game." Because Alabama State has been outgamed in 4 ball games this year and still won.
Mm-hmm.
This one was the opposite. Alabama State was able to move the football up and down the field all the way until they got into the red zone. Yep. And my dad said, "Man, here we go." He said, "Man, if we can't punch this thing in, Prairie View's going to find a way." And Prairie View found a way. People said that Prairie View couldn't run the ball against Alabama State. No, they ran the ball against Alabama State on yesterday. Trason Connolly, when it was time for him to hit the big play, I felt like he almost hit every one.
Yeah.
Especially, man, that touchdown, man, that put him up 21-7 when it looked like the momentum had swung back to Alabama State. Man, that one was the dagger. Man, Prairie View found ways to make it happen. And I don't think Alabama State could not run the ball yesterday. We talk about that. The tree and the base is running the football. Alabama State, I think, averaged 1.6 yards per carry yesterday. I know it wasn't even 2. They stifled them for running the football and made them have to throw. Just outstanding job by Prairie View on yesterday, getting it done. And this Panthers senior class going to their 2nd SWAC championship game. Two SWAC championship games in the last 3 years. That's impressive, and I don't think a lot of people are giving Prairie View credit as a program to what the program is and where they are right now.
As you talk about the rushing, it was 24 for 16 for 0.7 to your point.
Yeah.
Charles, I know you wanted to follow up with a question.
It's a veteran. It's a veteran, nasty offensive line that has gotten healthier, especially after that bye week. And I think yesterday you quite possibly saw the template for what the FAMU game, because especially with regards to those guards for Prairie View, they're nasty warthogs. They've gotten healthier. And now you have this Ahmad Antoine coming back in the mix. He's healthier. Didn't do a lot yesterday, but I keep saying this, and I've said this week after week, and it's his veteran leadership, it's his presence, being in pads for this team. It makes a big difference. Yesterday, you saw Caleb Johnson got off. I think, before we pencil FAMU into the Celebration Bowl, it's not going to be the same game that you saw in October with regards to FAMU and Prairie View.
Great points. Keyshawn Johnson, as we talk about him receiving, they held him out of the end zone, which is always crucial. He did have 9 receptions for 92 yards. Tyree Sanders had the big one, played 6 of 120 for 2 touchdowns, ended up being moved. But as you talked about the transfer, Caleb Johnson, when he needed to shine and show up, he showed up big. 14 carries for 77 yards, 5.5 a carry. Jamarius Brooks, 7 of 43, 6.1. For a total of 170 yards that B.J. Jones alluded to in terms of that matchup. So Prairie View gets it done, and we shall see. We'll get a chance to talk a little bit over the next 2 weeks of what that looks like in terms of that matchup in Harness, obviously in 2 weeks, a big matchup. But before we go there, let's stick with you, Charles, and get into this Alcorn State Brave Jackson State matchup. Jackson, Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium. Boy, this was a big one. Top 5 matchup. 4 versus 5. Alcorn State Braves come in at number 5. Had a tough road loss to Texas Southern University last weekend, but certainly did they bounce back. Short week, and they were ready. 7-4 is what they improved to 6-2. They defeat number 4 Jackson State Tigers that fall to 7-4, 5-3. The Braves jump out 14-0. Credit to Jackson State as they come back and tie it. With that being said, Charles, what were your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Yeah, pretty near. Getting his team back up after that face plant against Texas Southern. Big win against Jackson State in front of 42,000 fans there with the Soul Bowl there in Jackson. But this game, it's crazy to take a look at the stats. Jackson State won everywhere but the scoreboard. But I think Jackson State did what they needed to do in terms of shutting down Alcorn's running game, but it was a play of Aaron Allen. He had a big game, and I thought that was, what played. I thought that was going to play into the hands of Jackson State, the more attempts that he had throwing the football, because Jackson State has one of the best secondaries in the nation. But as it turned out, they got some big plays, 16 to 24, 225 yards for Aaron Allen, and they were able to go up top quite a bit on Jackson State and get some huge plays. But this game, the stat that you're going to circle is 15 penalties for Jackson State for 125 yards, including 3 big holding calls on the last drive. Jackson State moving the ball, but those penalties really killed them going down the stretch. So, but again, you take your hat off to the Alcorn team that came back strong after that tough loss against Texas Southern, and they got it done. So it's always a bitter taste for Jackson State fans. Last game of the year, walking out of the vet with a loss, but I think the totality of Jackson State season, TC Taylor did a fine job this past season.
Good stuff. You talked about your concerns with Seven McGee when he be able to get going. He only had 3 carries for 1 yard, so you could tell that he wasn't feeling himself in terms of what that looks like. But credit to Jackson State defense in terms of slowing the run. The Alcorn State Braves were just 26 of 71 total yards, got in the end zone once. But this is a different Braves team. They can throw the ball. They put up 25 receiving yards, passing yards, if you would. 3 touchdowns. Allen did have the interception, but, man, that was fascinating to see that matchup, as you pointed out some of the details there. With that being said, we're going to go to Joshua Sims Sr. as the Eagles go out on style at home. The number 14th ranked FCS program, number 2 in the HBCU rankings. I have them. They improved to 10-1. They get to 10 big victories on the season, 4-1 in the conference race. They defeat Delaware State Hornets that are 1-10, 0-5, 55-14. I have Delaware State in my overall strength ranking for the 21 HBCU programs at 19. I'm sure that'll change a little bit this weekend. Interesting because I had Pine Bluff at the bottom, 21, and I'm sure they'll raise up, which probably pushes Delaware State and North Carolina A&T down 20 and 21, I should say, in terms of how they finish the season. I'm just saying, I wasn't trying to go there, Chuck. I didn't know you would like it that much. But Kelly Stadium, Durham, North Carolina, Joshua, go ahead and take it away. Do your
thing. Doc, if you don't put them Greensboro Poodles, them East Greensboro Labrador Retrievers at 21, say we can go on and be done with this. All right, but I was just thinking. Hey, listen, man, it was a beautiful day yesterday in OKR, man. Senior day, sending off what I believe to be the winningest group of seniors this institution has been playing football since the 1920s has ever had. This is a group that's won a national championship, won a conference championship. Two players yesterday broke school records that I didn't think would ever be broken. Adrian Olivo breaks the school record previously held by Brandon Gilbert for the total points, for extra points, and field goals made. Didn't think that was ever going to be broken, man. Brandon Gilbert, who was on them North Carolina Central teams, and when we went on those Division II runs under Coach Broadway, I thought he had set the record so high, and we all kind of looked around like, dog, ain't no way in the world. And he literally did it yesterday. Coach Oliver did it for him, and really walk-off style, man. Called a timeout on the third down. We were already up like 52-14 or something like that. Called a timeout on the third down, man. Let him go out there and kick the field goal, man, on third down to get the record. So salute to him. And then it goes without saying that, Chuck, we talked about this a couple of times throughout the season about what this young man who broke a couple school records yesterday, what he means to this program. Davius Richard goes out yesterday and breaks the school record. Had already broken the school record for total rushing touchdowns, for total rushing yards. And then he goes out yesterday and breaks the school record for total offensive production. So for total yards as an offensive breaks Earl Harvey's record yesterday for total offensive production, as well as for total offensive yards yesterday in North Carolina Central school history as well. So what that young man meant yesterday to us, man, and the rest of this group. This group was the first recruiting class under Coach Oliver when he got there in 2019. And so for anybody, you guys know, man, that first group that you have that you graduate is always special. And so this group was incredibly special. And then they went out yesterday and seemingly wanted to tell the nation that, don't get us twisted, man. All right. Things happen. This is college football. Things happen. Every Saturday you got to come with your hard hat, and you got to play ball. But don't get too far ahead of yourself now. We are who we say we are. And so we go out yesterday and put it on Delaware State the way we know we supposed to, the way we know we should. And it is what it is. So we'll wait. We got about 2 hours to see what we're going to be playing that this Saturday coming. 85% of college football teams. I was up last night to almost midnight. At this time of the year, with the exception of the Bayou Classic, the Turkey Day Classic, preparation for the SWAC Championship game, and for the Celebration Bowl. And then you include all of the teams that play FCS football. Over 80% of all of college football teams right now are sitting at home really doing nothing right now. Yeah. To find ourselves in a position for the second year in a row to still be able to get up this morning, go to the football facility, go through preparation, to have our coaches still inside the office, literally going into game prep, having their coaches meetings, their position meetings, their side of the ball meetings this morning. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I still consider the FCS, and I've said this, and for those of y'all who think that Joshua Sims Sr. is going to change his perspective, the FCS playoffs is the consolation prize. Yeah. I'm about business, dog. I'm about business. And this is this business of sports. And we have an opportunity with the Celebration Bowl. Shout out to Howard, man. Salute to Howard. For those who think that I'm not going to salute these guys for what they've been able to do and what Coach Scott has been able to do and the seasons he's been there, man, you are a fool if you're not willing to tip your hat off to that program, man. I love and respect this game too much, and I'm willing to take a little bit of my time to talk about 1801 Federal Street to commend Howard Bison for getting there and punching their ticket to the Celebration Bowl. Go down to Atlanta. Best of luck to you guys, and you guys are going to see how difficult it is to win this game. It is a difficult game, man, to win this thing in front of 40, 50,000 people and millions of people watching. Dog,
Yes,
that
Lord.
thing is like, it's a heavy weight, dog. It's a
Yes,
heavy
Lord.
weight.
Yes,
It's
Lord.
large, man. For real, man. And so kudos to you guys. Good luck to you guys. Wish you guys nothing but the best. Go down, do your thing. And whoever it ends up being, whether it's Florida A&M or whether it's the Prairie View A&M Panthers, whichever team it is, man, you better bring your hard hat and be ready to play ball because this is a tough game to win. But in the meantime, between time, we're going on over here to these other people's backyard and and take a couple of pieces of sod and get some seed, take some trees up. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna do some damage in their backyard. That's all I'm saying. We're gonna go back there and do some damage. And we're gonna represent for HBCUs, man. So in a way that our friends over down the highway they just can't do it. All right. Listen, you just don't send kids to do grown men's job. You know what I'm saying? We just gotta do it. So since they can't get it done, and since our friends in Nashville can't get it done, and our little buddies up in Hampton, Virginia can't get it done, we'll go over there and get it done.
Well said. Well said to close out this segment. Davis Richards, 19 of 21, 386 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's the way to put a final nail on the
Six total, Doc. He had a rushing touchdown yesterday too.
Further
expanded the record.
Exactly. Let me make sure I get that in there. Great call. We'll be right back after this last break. We'll come back and get some final thoughts, and we'll call it a day.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
We give a shout out to Ladarius Owens, who eclipsed 2,000 yards on the season. He was 25 carries for 143 yards and 3 touchdowns. The young man just continues to chug. But with that said, unfortunately, in terms of Texas Southern, that side of it, they lose. But shout out to the Golden Lions. We said to everybody that this team will fight you. They may not be as talented, small in terms of they on a lot of different positions on the field, but they push through, and it's not usually because they lack effort. They got going yesterday. They were down at half, literally 31-7. And then third quarter, they outscored the Tigers just 6-3. But the fourth quarter was an implosion or explosion, depending on which side you want to look at, as the Golden Lions put up 22 points to get it done, 35-34. Shout out to Higgins, 15-37, 193 yards. And then Jameson on the ground, 10 carries for 113 yards. to get it done. And the Golden Lions out a game. Texas Southern Tigers 391 to 337. Big victory for the Golden Lions in terms of that. But shout out, most importantly, Ladarius Owens, the way he closed out the season and was just a workhorse for this team in terms of that. Let me go to you, Charles. Any final thoughts in terms of this season? We're pretty much to the close. Obviously, we will give BJ Jones some chance to not only give his thoughts, but also talk about the Bayou Classic, which still is going to be a legendary game because it's the 50th one in terms of what that looks like. But Charles, your final thoughts on this season thus far?
Yeah, been a topsy-turvy season. What I think everybody predicted with regards to the SWAC West, it definitely played out. I definitely want to tip my hats to the Howard Bison. Heavy as the head that wears the crown, and they took down the champion. They took down the North Carolina Central Eagles. So you tip your hats to Howard with regards to that was a complete team. When you take a look at North Carolina Central, a physical team, Davius Richard, one of the best HBCU football, and the Bison were able to get it done. So they are the MEAC representative in the Celebration Bowl. So you tip your hat to them, and you're looking forward to these. To this SWAC championship game. I think this is not going to be a repeat of what you saw with Florida A&M versus Prairie View earlier. So I think the script is yet to be written, but it has been a fun season thus far.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me go to you, Erica. What are your thoughts on this season in totality?
Well, 3 quick things. First, we talked about on HBCU Nightly if anybody was going to come out of the MEAC unscathed, and I said no emphatically. And I'm really glad that worked out that way. The MEAC is a gauntlet. We only have 6 teams, but it's really hard to win in the MEAC, especially when our teams are playing really strong out-of-conference schedules and they're coming in like battle-tested into MEAC play. So that was really cool to see. Also, like Howard, of course, I'm happy for my team. You know, we lost 3 games in a combined total of 7 points. We lost 2 games by 3 points, another game by 1 point. We've either let slip away or been in these games most of the season. You know, you're talking about a 9-2 record versus a 6-5 record, depending on how momentum shifts and how the cookie crumbles. So I'm very proud of how they pulled out at the end of the season. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to our quarterback, Quentin Williams. I have had my critiques over the season, especially in how I believe he manages pressure in crunch time situations. But I'm very, very proud of him. Very impressed with how he came through at the end of the season and managed these games and really pulled out wonderful victories. So I just want to give a shout out to Q Williams. I am eating crow. And it's made me learn a lesson about flashy quarterbacks versus those who stay the course and can get you your yardage, move you down the field in a very systematic way. And that's what he's shown all season. So shout out to Q Williams.
Wow. Go to you, Joshua Sims Sr., in terms of your final thoughts. I know you had,
well, look at God, boy. Look at God.
Yeah, that was a little different, man. You know, she forget just in the special way she does. Tennessee State, talking about the FCS playoffs. Tennessee State, I believe, is the last HBCU to win a playoff game back in 2013. They defeated Butler 31-0, and then they went into the second round and lost to Eastern Illinois 51-10. Just to give you an update. So it'll be interesting to see Central as they get back into it. With that, let me pass it. Joshua Sims Sr., thoughts?
Yeah, man, this is without a shadow of a doubt been an incredible season, man. You know, I know we laid the rest of the regular season yesterday for the most part. Still got the Bayou Classic, still got the Turkey Day Classic. But for the most part, we laid the rest of the regular season yesterday. And this was an incredible season. You know, on behalf of us, you know, HBCU Nation, we apologize. We laid the ball down, man. We dropped the ball on this one. You know what I mean? It was a big time opportunity between, you know, what we thought was going to be 2 top 10 teams playing in there. But you got to give your hats off, man. Listen, man, this is heavyweight. This is a heavyweight gauntlet in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And I'm going to continue to keep saying this, man. This structure that we have in the MEAC is perfect. It's perfect, man. I know we want to add teams, and I know the whole country want us to add teams because they want us to have a MEAC championship game, and I'm cool with that. Man, I don't have no problems with everybody's opinion about it, but you look at how we structure. You look at how a team like a Howard plays 2 FBS teams in their non-conference schedule, plays two FCS teams in their non-conference schedule as well from other conference, plays a Morehouse in a classic game, very similar setup for North Carolina Central. Morehouse and Howard you could consider them academic rivals, man. Those are schools that we know when we think about it from an academia standpoint, they are in competition with each other. So to see them playing that game, very similar to us with Winston State. We're going to continue to keep playing Winston State. That's a rival of ours. As long as when we playing against these other teams that's in FCS, that's outside of our conference, we keep beating them. Look at how this setup provides an opportunity for teams in our conference to really run the table, to really have an opportunity. Right now, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, just like the SWAC is going to have in a couple weeks, has 2 teams that's getting ready to be playing right now. And I get it, man. I know the entire country, man, has been hammering and clamoring on the MEAC to add teams, and we're going to add teams. We're going to add some programs. We are. When the time comes, man, you guys will get a chance to see it, that the MEAC was ready to do it when it was time. But I like this setup, man. You almost are playing 3 different seasons. And so my final thought as it pertains to my final thought for the regular season right now on the show is, man, I like this setup. I enjoy this setup. And look at how much of a heavyweight gauntlet it is in the MEAC. When you got a defense like a Morgan State, which in my opinion was one of the best, if not the best defense in all of FCS football this year. You look at a Howard team who down the stretch just wavered the storm, man. They carried the storm. I'm going to be at Erica's neck about that Delaware State game this all season the same way she was about me with Delaware State this season. But we'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But heavy is the head that wears the crown, and we will have to take our crown off and hand it to somebody in a few weeks. And I look forward to that opportunity, man. And this was just an incredible season. Chuck, I know you want to ask me something.
I got to jump in with this. Until that time comes when the MEAC adds a team or 2, because of the schedule you play, will you always have a leg up in the Celebration Bowl?
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. When you look at these last 3 weeks of MEAC football, I'm not sure you can call that a leg up. Look, man, playing in the cold in October and November is not fun, man. I have gone on record and said I hate it. In all of my years of playing football, from a kid all the way up to a young adult, I hated playing football in the cold. I told everybody that game was going to be a low-scoring defensive slugfest yesterday. What we get? A 14-7 championship game to settle who was going to the Celebration Bowl. Dog, Howard is going to need all of them weeks of recovery to get over that gauntlet they faced yesterday. That thing they faced yesterday, they going to need all the time to recover from that. So I'm not necessarily sure if it gives us a leg up, because I've always heard you got 2 different sides of it. You can be super rested, not prepared, having not put in enough, having not got any live reps in the time off, or you can be, really kind of dry and come in, dull, and you're not really prepared to play in the game. I've seen it on both sides. I think for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, especially in a situation like this where it's clear now, it's Prairie View and it's FAMU. Last year was different. I mean, you had to wait all the way up to the Bayou Classic to really know who was going to be playing in the SWAC championship game. So it provided for a different situation. This year is clear. This year is clear. It's one additional game in the middle. And I don't think that game has as much of an effect on the outcome of the Celebration Bowl as we want to give it credit to. I do believe that there's some sort of effect. I would love to study it, but I don't think it has that much of an effect. I don't think it gives a leg up, Chuck. I don't think it gives a leg up. I would rather be continuously playing and building consistency, right? And building habits and building consistency, continuously playing, than sitting at the crib for 3 weeks and not playing and not getting any live game reps.
I don't think, sorry to interrupt, I don't think the extra time gives us a leg up. I do think playing Harvard, Eastern Michigan, Northwestern, Hampton, etc., gives us a little bit of an edge. But maybe I might be devaluing SWAC competition. but you guys stay in conference all season. Y'all start off in the conference, you finish in the conference, So I will say, and we saw that same thing with South Carolina State when they went to the Celebration Bowl in 21. They came in with a 6-5 record, but they had a very tough out of conference schedule, and they were able to go in there and take it from Jackson State when everyone thought that we were going to get trashed. And so I'm hoping for a similar scenario for us, but I do think, we've played a very strong out of conference schedule against a lot of different opponents. We've traveled, we've gone to cold places, we played tough. So I think that has to count for something. Hopefully they can rise up for the next couple weeks.
And that's what I was alluding to. The schedule plus the rest, does it equal the perfect sort of equation to success in the Celebration Bowl?
I do, Chuck. I do think that the MEAC probably has the best setup of all conferences in all of FCS football. I think they do, because you get, for the first 6 weeks of the season, you can go out and go get your respect across the country, away from us, away from our people, away from us. And then for the next six weeks, you battling us to try to make your way to the Black College National Championship. I think that is literally the most perfect setup in the world. And I hope that the SWAC can find a way. I know it's difficult, but some of the programs in that conference have shown that they can, and they can have a similar setup. I just hope that it can be more prevalent across the entire SWAC landscape, because it really does. It provides an opportunity for teams to jump on the page and do some things like Howard has done this year and really, really take steps forward as a program.
Yeah, I'm a little different in terms of analyzing that. I think we make that more than it is. Obviously, the sample size of the games makes it challenging to have that argument, because we just hadn't had enough of them. But what I always fall back on to the games that we have, other than pretty much 2 games, all the games have been close. So it would be different if it's credit to the MEAC that they won those close games. I think that's one thing that we have to be clear, because people in some ways think when you're talking about this as if you're trying to discredit the MEAC. I want to make that very clear that the MEAC has significantly done what they need to do to win the majority of those games. But when you start getting the argument about weeks off and these kind of things, I think it's a little more difficult for me, because if it was that much of an advantage, I think it would play off in terms of the scores of the game. These games have been close, which means it is the perfect matchup and what Sims is talking about is when you have 2 championship teams and the quality it goes into whatever gauntlet you were playing, whether it was an 8-team MEAC schedule or a 5-game MEAC schedule. You see going through a conference schedule with folks that know you, different styles of play, get you ready to play another championship team going through 8 games, a conference championship rivals. They are talented teams, and when they come up, the only thing that happens with the championship game, there must be someone that wins, which means there is someone that loses. That's just what we love about sports, particular championship competitions. And when you do that, they tend to be close. And I think that's what you see when those 2 teams match up, other than essentially 2 matchups. And I think our memory allows us to focus on South Carolina State. But again, if you look closer at their schedule, South Carolina State that year had 2 FBS programs. They switched just one of those, and all of a sudden you don't have a 6-5, you have a 6-4 team. They were close in one of those non-conference games. They win that. So they were right there on the edge of being something that you overlook at 6-5 versus being 8-3. So yes, you have Howard come in at 6-5, but they were right there with Hampton. That could have easily been 7-4, right? They have a slip up in terms of their conference play. So they could be an 8-3 team. Now, I know your record is what your record is, but I'm saying if you really start to look closely at these things, and get outside of your normal mode and not be quote unquote lazy. And this is not being disrespectful to anybody talking about it, but sometimes I don't think we go into the details as much as we can because it becomes easier just to have the trite words to say this and this and that. Now, I know, Charles, that's not what you were doing. You were trying to get it on the table so we can discuss it, right?
Exactly.
So I appreciate that. With that being said, BJ Jones, we saved the best for last. Thank you for being patient. You got several things to talk about. Your final thoughts on the season, the Bayou Classic, and you can get in and have your thoughts in terms of the Celebration Bowl in regards to the matchup between MEAC and SWAC in regards to the schedule that we just talked about. Take it away.
That's a lot. I'm going to hit all of it. This season has showed us the more that we know, the more we actually don't know. If you got some prognostications, you better put it in pencil and be able to erase it and go back. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the Celebration Bowl probably being the best Celebration Bowl that we've seen. 2 top 10 matchups and how that would be marketed and just the excitement. Everybody had went ahead and penciled FAMU in the game and penciled Central in the game. Things happened. So Alcorn State beat Southern. Alcorn going to Tallahassee. That's a big matchup. Alcorn going to Tallahassee with potentially 8 wins. Man, now that SWAC championship game looks a little bit better. Yeah, Texas Southern had different plans. Now Prairie View's back in it. This is why we play the game, and this is why the game isn't played on paper. We just knew all year that Central was going to be in Atlanta. You just called the MEAC, the North Carolina Central Invitational. Central was going to be there. Howard had other plans. This is why we play the game. This is the beauty of this sport that we call HBCU football. Bayou Classic coming up, 50th anniversary. Just think about all the memories and games that we've had there. Coming to this ball game with an interim coach for Southern, Hugh Jackson coming in, didn't have the best season for Grambling. I think it's still the Bayou Classic. I think it's going to be a hard-fought ball game. And I'm excited to see the who's going to show up for this one. And then we talk about the MEAC. I would like to see the MEAC add maybe 2 teams, maybe get the 7 teams from a football standpoint. I wouldn't like to see them play a championship game for this reason. I like the fact that the MEAC is able to get a team in the Celebration Bowl and a team in the FCS playoffs. And that gives everyone, some motivation. So we don't make the Celebration Bowl, there's a consolation prize. So I like that workaround. And, man, where has this season gone? I feel like we just started this thing, being down in Montgomery. Erica was able to make that trip with me and my wife and family. And now, man, we're talking about Bayou Classic, and the matchup is set for the SWAC championship game. It's like we wait for this thing all year. It gets here and boom, it's gone. But that's the beauty of HBCU football.
Well said, and we'll close it on that note. This is what you have when you check out Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Hope you enjoyed it. We certainly love having you. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Shout out, one smoke for all those champions out there as they got it done. With that being said, with 2 of the members, actually we have all 3 today, Erica Lee, BJ Jones, and Joshua Sims Seniors of X's and O's. That's BJ Jones, curator of the HBCU Weekly, Joshua Sims Senior, curator of the HBCU Nightly. Make sure you are following these individuals, particularly over the next couple of weeks. You'll get announcements about some things that will be happening in Atlanta as they will be doing this thing and be stepping up center stage. Obviously, Charles, Mike, and I will be doing our customary moments in terms of Radio Row covering the games. We'll even get some stuff in because we will be heading down to Tallahassee. So we'll give you the insight in regards to what the landscape looks like. We'll give you some backdoor. We'll get you some questions. We'll be on the media call, so we'll be all over the place to make sure you get your customary insight in terms of the road to a championship, the Celebration Bowl, as well as the first step with the SWAC championship game on the SWAC side of things. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, and on Sunday at 9 a.m. during the football season. So we have a couple of more of those to wrap up as we get it going. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the lab. We'll talk a little bit more basketball as we got a little break before we get into it. We'll sneak some of those things in there, some big wins by these basketball programs. Shout out to Delaware State as they kick off the matchups between MEAC and SWAC teams. They got it done against Grambling in Atlanta. Delaware State got a win over Grambling men's basketball. We have a couple of more coming up with Howard facing Jackson State as well as Texas Southern. And so there's some key matchups. We have a South Carolina State and Bethune-Cookman. We also have a Alabama State matchup with South Carolina State. So we'll keep you updated on what those were saying. Erica, what were you going to sneak in there?
Oh, it's the same day as the Celebration Bowl, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll be doing double duty. I'll fly up Sunday because they're actually Saturday and Sunday. So you have 2 games that will be the same day as the Celebration Bowl. But then you have 2 on Sunday. So I'll catch the red eye, be up bright and early after having probably too much fun with these ladies and gentlemen Saturday night. But I'll be on that plane, and I'll be able to catch the 2 games in Las Vegas. I did it last year. Rough is the crown that the dean wears of covering HBCU sports, but that's the expectation from my followers. So we'll find a way to get it done.
Oh, and Dr.
Follow me? Sure.
Howard is in the volleyball women's championship today against Coppin State. So we're trying to go 2 for 2.
Thank you for making sure we get that in, having that love. Charles?
Jackson State is in the SWAC volleyball championship against FAMU. So be sure to catch both of those games, MEAC and SWAC volleyball championship. It's been really, really exciting action. I've been on the edge of my seat.
Chivalry's not dead.
School down the highway is in the badminton championships this weekend. That's
Oh, man. And on that note, you can follow me at Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, DrKenyattacavil, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's what we do here. We love our HBCU sports. If we didn't love you, we wouldn't kid you because we didn't care. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. With that being said, make sure you download my JVN, my BCSN. We'll be doing a lot of coverage. We'll get you some coverage on your mid-majors. You know we go in depth on your major division. We're going to do something special with this being in Roy's backyard, if you would, BCSN. So make sure you check those things out. Obviously, yesterday we had Carlos Brown doing his thing. Today, this evening, we'll have Brian and AD as they get you going with sports wraps to wrap things up. They'll give you the playoff picture, let you know where North Carolina Central is in terms of the FCS and whether they're hosting or not. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Force.
Joshua?
Lecture.
DJ Jones and Eric?
Dismissed.
Bye.